Today's session is split in two parts, but the first one is getting work done and how do you reach the top 1%ers in the country. Okay. Now I'm talking about the outcome, the results, which you must never be attached to. Okay. I'll repeat again. I'm talking about outcomes. So being the top 1%er, but then you must never be attached to the outcome because that will lead to unhappiness. Okay. But at the same time, how do you reach the top 1% in the country? Now, if you look at UK, reaching the top 1% isn't a lot of money. It's just a little over £200,000. Okay. How do you reach a £200,000 income or more than that? Okay. Let me kind of take you a little bit back, about 13, 14 years back, to some of my journey. I was one of the, I can't show you that because I don't own the company anymore. But I built a website, and when I say I, obviously the team did, but I got it done. I was the one designing, and all the creative work that was done was me. I got a website done for one of our chauffeur companies where you could book yourself a car from Heathrow or to Heathrow, anywhere from Heathrow to Heathrow, from the country, all over the country. Okay. You could book yourself an E-Class, an S-Class. You could book yourself a Rolls Royce, a Bentley. You could book yourself a Viano, and not just book, but like you could check the car, you could book the car, you could pay for it, and done and dusted, get a confirmation, and the driver would turn up at your door. Either you're getting picked up from Heathrow to your home or to your office, or back from your office home to Heathrow. Okay. I was actually the second company in the country to be able to build a website like that. Now, the reason I'm sharing this is because it's a job done, as in tick. Raise your hand if you can imagine the amount of work it took to list every single town in the country, and then make have how much it's going to cost for every single car, back and forth, and that goes into a database, and that database is uploaded into a system, and everything is done. Raise your hand if you can see through the amount of work that went into it. There's a reason I'm sharing this. Please raise your hand if you can see through the work. Every single town in the country, back and forth for multiple cars quotation. Okay. It took me 6 months of closed room and job done. That means work done. That is verb, job done, to be able to create a website like that. When I launched it, okay, it cost me like in tens of thousands just to create. Remember, these days getting a website done is like £400 or £500, maybe £1,000. Back in the days, it used to cost 10 times more. Okay, job done, money invested, all the money paid for by one single client that we acquired through the website, the biggest law firm in New York. Raise your hand if you can see what I mean when you start to invest real money into some real creative work, and then you really get the work done. The insistence is, or what I'm trying to share is not just work done, but creative work done, and real, it's almost like you getting the work done, getting shit done. Okay. Now, we sold that company. The reason we were able to acquire a value for the company was mainly due to its online presence. Okay. Then moving forward, I mean, I could talk about the royal company, royal families booking the cars, listed chairmans booking the cars. The reason we acquired many of those clients is purely because of the creative work that went into that social presence and the online work that we did back in 2006 and 7. Okay. Moving forward, we sold that company in 2014, a part of that in 2016. I got to a point where we actually got an app done as well for the company. There was, I remember then that was in 2013, and we obviously sold the company, so they took over the app as well. I think we had like one booking through the app back in the days. Okay. And then she continued booking every time so she continuously kept booking through the app. Okay, so we acquired one client, and obviously literally after a few months we sold the company. So I still don't know, I never went back and found out what the result was after that from the website and everything else. Okay, but now moving forward, okay, 2016, in fact 2014, 15, 16, I got my personal website done, which took quite some time to get it right. Okay, even now we are giving a revamp to our personal website. Now if you go to my personal website, you'll only see maybe four tabs. Okay, the process of going through 500,000 things, peeling all the layers, that means saying no to everything else and just sticking to maybe 3 or 4 tabs, is a very creative process. It's the art and science. The science is what to say no to and what to say yes to. Okay, the more no's you say, the better you will be, the more the more you can speed up the process. And then the creative work, that is the art. I remember, I'll tell you a story so you can see where I'm coming from. I used to have a client, a chairman of a listed company again, and I was reading a book one day. I was alongside with him, and he said, "Tell me the book you're reading." I was reading a book about creativity. I think it was a book called 20 Most Creative Ways, something along the lines. And I showed him the book, and then he was actually with his wife, and they started discussing about, can a person become more creative by reading and by listening and by doing these things? And the wife said, no, you can't be more creative. You can be only as creative as you're born. And the husband said, no, you can be more creative. So the chairman of the listed company said, no, you can be more creative if you persist enough on creativity. I kept reading creative books since then for the past 15, 16 years, and surrounding myself with more creative people, allowing me to ask one question at any given time, which I've shared earlier as well, but I'll share again. When you come across a challenge, either you're in a meeting raising funding, or you're looking at a deal and don't know how to make it more make it stand out, you always ask yourself one question, and that will help you become more creative. And that's a discussion I had with one member here, not going to name. You ask yourself, how do I stand out? How do I make this project stand out? And if you ask that question every step of the way, you will eventually get there. And the science is, in most cases, just observing someone else's process. Just copy it in most cases. Okay, that's the science of it. But where people get this wrong is they get attached to the outcome. And when you get attached to the outcome, it's when you get discouraged, because you're not going to get immediate results, or you may not get immediate results. It's when you attach yourself to the creative process, that's when you start to see results over a sustained
It's going to be there.
time.
Look at the time.
Sorry,
it's going to be there, man.
Yourself.
All right, just 1 minute. Let me eat a little bit.
Sorry, mute yourself if you have noise behind you. If you attach yourself to the outcome, you will get discouraged, because it takes time to get results in the first place in most cases. But if you attach yourself to the process, in fact, never attach to anything, but if you stick to the process, you will start. And when I say stick to the process of creative work, that is persistent and consistent work in your process that will eventually get you results. Okay, so to give you another example, when I started PEN, and I can give you more examples, but let's say when I started PEN, my first question was, how do I make this platform stand out? Okay, that was the first question I asked. And I asked that question every step of the way within PEN. For those of you who've not checked PEN like fully, please do go and explore, because you'll be surprised at the amount of ground we've covered in a very creative way where most people have not. In fact, some of the features on our website are so unique, no one in the country has done that. And the only reason I managed to do that is because asking How can I make this stand out every step of the way? And then over a period of time, we're now started to see results where even as a very, very small business in comparison to many other businesses like Zoopla and Rightmove, we are getting like 200 views on each property on average. Some of the properties are getting like 450, 500 views each property. Okay. But imagine getting on average over 200 views on the platform. Now, raise your hand if you can see 2000 views on each property or on each post, maybe in 10, 15, 20 years time. Not even 20, but let's say 10 years time. Raise your hand if you can see that. Okay. The only reason is because I kept asking myself, how can I stand out? How can I make this more creative? How will this help me do more deals behind the scene? How will it help us attract more people into the network? How will it help us get more deals done and deals across the line? In fact, if you observe every product or every service line that we structure, we try and create a collaboration rather than just like a sales process. In most cases, it's a collaboration. I want to collaborate with every single person here. I want to get more deals done with yourself, either now or at some later stage. Some will take more time, others will not take as much time, but I want to get more deals done. That is how we structured the whole platform. And that's why we are getting more traction. Okay. And that's because I asked myself and I mean literally every step of the decision, I kept asking myself, how can I make this stand out in every aspect of the way? That is all I've done. And that's the creative process. And I mean, stick to the process. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. PN did not happen overnight. It took some time. Do not attach yourself to the outcome. Okay. Because when you do, and you don't get results immediately, you are going to get discouraged. And I can tell you from my own experience, creative work takes time, and creative work, unfortunately, do not provide you immediate results. Okay. That is very, very important to understand. But job done. Raise your hand if you've been through the PN website properly, like you've seen the whole website and can see the amount of work that's gone into it. Raise your hand if you can see that. Okay. If you've not seen the website, please do go and have a look. You will see the amount of work, and I mean literal hardcore, closed door creative work that's gone into it. And it does take time to be able to do work like that. Okay. Very, amazing saying, if you are working all the time, where do you have time to make money? This is where the creative process comes in. Okay. Stick to the process, not to the outcome immediately. It doesn't come. Okay. At the same time, if you look at the patterns, habits, and what do you call, if like, when you process something, so if not evolving, sorry, I'm trying to think of the word. There is a word for it which I wrote yesterday, actually. Evaluation, sorry, I forgot the word. Evaluation, my apology. Okay. So what is the patterns, habits, and evaluation process of the top 1%? Okay. Patterns, I shared with you just now. The patterns are that you ask yourself every step of the way. The art of the patterns is to ask yourself every step of the way, how can I make this stand out? How can I make this project stand out? How can I stand out as a personal brand? Every step of the way. That's the art of the patterns. And then you have the science. Science can be copied. Copy what's working for others. In most cases, it's going to work for you. The science is, for example, that I have created PN and the foundation is just a network. That's the science of it. I know being the connector in the industry is going to help me build my network faster. Okay, that is the science. The science is that I have a very good online presence. The science is that I keep interviewing people, attracting more people into the network. The science is that all of this content generation, all of these creative work, allows us to attract more investors. Just the fact that I have a category on the PEN platform as investors, and that not just I can connect with those investors from our admin panel, but even as you, a third party, like a user of the platform, can connect with those investors from the platform itself. All of this is just science, the science of just connecting with the right people as and when you need them. Investors, developers, builders, agents, deals, pretty much everything. The whole process is still there. You can copy that. No one stops you from that. Maybe you'll just do it in your own creative way. You don't have to copy me, but you could do it in your own creative way. You have to find your own way in your own context. Okay. That's the science of the patterns. Okay. Let me come back to the habits. The habits are very, very simple. I wake up every morning. I make sure I do my workout. I did right before the session. I make sure that the work gets done. That means everything is in my diary. I have, in fact, now 3 diaries. I have a physical diary, I have a digital diary, and now I have another task list, which I use Asana for. Okay, so those of you who don't know Asana, there's a task that you can, it's basically like like monday.com. So basically, when you want to get tasks done and you want to delegate to others, you can actually delegate to others through Asana. So now I have 3 different platforms: a physical diary, a digital diary, and Asana, to not just remind me of all the tasks, but delegate tasks to others as well. Okay. Now, another thing that I'd like to share with everyone is, which most people get wrong, unfortunately, is once you do a task, or twice you do a task, the third time you need to ask yourself is, how do I automate or delegate this task? Because if you keep doing those tasks, you are absolutely going to become a slave of your own system. Okay. If you don't want to be a slave of your own created system, learn to ask yourself, how can I automate and delegate this task going forward? Because if you keep doing those tasks, you are not going to grow at all. Okay. Like, you're going to just hit a plateau, and that doesn't take you any far. Okay. You have to keep asking, automate, delegate every step of the way. So when you look at your tasks of the day and say, okay, because remember, as the leader of your company, as the person who's leading the company, there are certain tasks that no one can do, and that is always going to remain the case. But 9 out of 10 tasks, or in fact more than 9 out of 10 tasks, can be automated and can be delegated. Okay. As long as you're prepared to give that control away, someone can do your task as much as like 70% of what you do quality wise. Please start to delegate those tasks, because they're not now worth your time. Okay. Very, very important within the habits of doing and getting work done. Now, if you wake up, not if you wake up, when you wake up, when you wake up and you don't have a task list to do in your business, you still haven't learned the basics of your business. Okay. When you look at the top 1%ers in the country, they know exactly what they're going to do today. They know what exactly they're going to do in a week's time. They know exactly what they're going to do in a month's time. In many cases, they know exactly what they're going to do in the 365 days of the year and going forward as well. Okay. So when you look at me, you can come and check my task list every single day, right from my digital diary to my physical diary to my Asana. I can actually show you when you come and see me. Some of you have, those of you who haven't, you can actually literally come and see the actual habit process that I get done every single day. Okay. There are times when the task is on my diary and doesn't get done for months, but that's okay. It's still on my diary. That means it's going to get done when it's the right time. Okay. Because we only have 24 hours, and not every single day that I manage to get everything done. It doesn't happen. But all that means is that there's a task that needs to be done, and it will get done. And within that, one thing that most people, again, don't have is a grand vision. Okay. Like, most people start and they just, keep going along with what's happening in their life, and they never ask themselves, okay, I started my business with, let's say, £50,000, but how do I raise £500,000 or 5 million or 10 million and take it to the next level and the level after that? or ask themselves, now I'm doing a deal that's one single unit, but now how can I do a deal that's 5 unit or 10 unit? Or they don't ask themselves, yes, go ahead. Hi, Victoria, you're right. They don't ask themselves, how do I go from a 10,000 investment to a million investment, and then take the steps accordingly. Because when you start to do all the work yourself and you don't automate and delegate, you don't have the time to ask these questions in the first place. You don't have the time to reflect back on your business and say, okay, 2 years ago, I was in the same space as I am today. And why is that? The reason is because you're not automating, delegating, to have the time to reflect, to be able to ask those questions in the first place. And when you start to delegate, automate, you now have the time to ask real questions, find real answers, and have a grand vision at the back of that. Okay, these are the physical as well as the thought process habits that will help you scale your business. In the previous business, the only reason I was able to grow that business to 47 people was because I kept asking myself, how do I grow this business? How do I keep growing this business? Okay, that was the only question. I wasn't as creative, I wasn't as knowledgeable back in the days, but what I had was drive, and what I had was asking the right questions in my mind to myself and looking for those answers. Okay, that's very, very, very important. So having your task list, not just for today, but for the week, for the month, for the year, and for a few years, and within that same context, automating, delegating, and asking yourself the right questions, and then creating those tasks accordingly. Like, okay, let's say if I want to go from 5 units, I want to now go to 50 units. Now I invested, let's say for 5 units, I invested 10 grand, just hypothetically, but for 50 units, I now need 50,000 or 500,000, whatever you need. How do I go and raise that money? And that task remains in your diary until it gets done. Okay, now you're at 5 units, now you want to get to 50 units. Now you ask yourself, how do I go and find 50 units in the next 12 months? And how do I make that process faster? Okay, by raising money, being able to generate more leads. How do I do that? Once you start asking yourself those questions and you keep delegating and automating stuff, you will start to get more time to be able to scale in the first place. But within that, one of the things that again makes a big difference is evaluating the process of what's working and what's not. So let's say you did a task and it didn't work. Okay, in fact, especially in marketing, many of the tasks that you will do will not work, and you have to keep evaluating and thinking which ones are going to work or which ones are working. You have to keep doing that. One thing that does really, really work well, and I can tell you now, is referral system. Okay, most businesses still generate more business from getting referrals than anything else. That one works really well. Create a good referral system in your business, allowing you to generate more leads. And when I say leads, I mean to say in most cases more property deals for you, because that's the context we're sitting in property. So if you, let's say, are dealing with one landlord, the likelihood of that landlord knowing more landlords is very, very high. All you got to do is provide some sort of incentive to that landlord and say, would you know, let's say 5 more landlords who may potentially benefit from our service once this landlord has signed up. Okay, and then you give some sort of incentive, either it is money or some sort of value or whatever it is, whatever incentive you can potentially provide. Okay, but creating a referral program is key to winning in business, and you have to make it work. There are times when the referral program doesn't work. You have to make it work. You have to keep asking yourself, how can I make this referral program work? Okay, that is vital. The more people you refer to, the more leads you'll generate, the more deals you will get. And at the back of that, you have to keep asking yourself, how do I raise more investment, allowing me to scale? If you are scared of raising investment, you're just not going to go too far, unfortunately. Okay, and it is the creative process that you need to stick to, which will allow you to reduce that fear in you. Okay, Does that make sense? Raise your hand if it makes sense to you that when you stick to the creative process and when you keep getting the work done, it will eventually help you reduce that fear and help you raise finance. Okay, that's very, very, very important. I hope you guys are taking notes. What I'm actually sharing is very, very important. I cannot insist enough how important this is. Okay, a grand vision, great habits of scheduling and getting work done, getting creative work done, getting the intellectual work done, the science of the part of getting work done, and then evaluating the process of what's working and what's not working, and leaving what's working, or maybe asking yourself, how can I be more creative and make that work? Sometimes something might not work, and just because maybe you're not thinking more creatively enough. Okay, and like I shared earlier, being more creative is, even though it's art, but it's something that you can learn. And I'm sharing this with my personal experience. I was not even a fraction as creative as I am today, just because I got work done and I kept learning at the back of that. Okay, if you ask the right questions, you will get creative answers. In many cases, if you observe me, I ask people the questions and I use their creativity, allowing me to scale. I've done this many, many times. Some of the members might have seen this from my end. I ask questions to people and I use their creativity to scale my business. Okay, that is a great way of using other people's creativity as well. But evaluation is very, very important as well, to see what's working, what's not. And if something is not working, how can you make it work? And if you still struggle with it, maybe it's time to leave it and, you know, consider a few years later or a few months later. You know, sometimes it's just the timing that something is not working. Okay, that is all it takes to be the top 1%er. Okay, asking yourself that when you make a sale, how can you make the another sale at the back of that? Okay, so for example, we sourced a deal. I went back to the person and said, okay, you know, now that you've taken this deal, what is the what's the kind of deal that you want to buy next time? And he actually did not give me the same criteria like he took the first time. He gave me a slightly different criteria. Okay, I just want another sale at the back of that. That is simple as that. Another one is, I ask my stakeholders around me many, many times, how can I help? I mean, raise your hand if I have asked you, and I ask this to everyone. If I've asked you, let me know, how can I help? Or share with me, how can I help you in the journey? Raise your hand if you've seen me asking that question. I ask this question to every single person that I'm surrounded by. Every single person. Not everyone gives me a great answer, but some people, when they do give me a very clear answer to how I can help them, then I can. If you don't give me a clear answer, sometimes I cannot help you. Okay, you got to have clarity on how I can help you in the picture. You have to ask yourself, how can you take your journey to the next level? It's very, very important to ask these questions. These are the questions that the top 1%ers in the country ask. These are the questions that they don't just ask the people they're surrounded by, but every single stakeholder in the company. Every person that I speak with, I can tell you now, that is a very simple question. Is there anything I can help you with? Okay, and then I share with them a little bit about me and so on and so forth. And they would ask for deals, they would ask for property finance, they would ask for a whole bunch of other services, and at the back of that, we get deals done. Okay, so that is how you need to set yourself up. Within that, remember, you need to learn how to package your services. I'm going to come to this point. Just give me one sec. This is our today's first session. I'm actually going to do another session, which is kind of correlated, but it's important to kind of get the understanding of how it's correlated and how it works in a whole circle. But do you have any questions so far on what I've just shared, please? Because it's very important to get this right. Having a good task list, asking yourself the right questions, getting the work done, like really getting creative work done. Like I said, I can share with you a whole lot of other bunch of things that I do behind the scene. For example, I launched a app called Report Bad Drivers. I did all the creative work. I launched it. It's in the market. It's being used by people, not as much as I'd like to because I'm not promoting it enough, but it's getting used. Work done. After that, for example, we've started PEN Club. I actually thought about PEN Club about a year ago. Some of the members here know that. And then it took me a year to get to a point where I launched the PEN Club. Now I have a waiting list of people in the PEN Club through our MailChimp system that are waiting for me to call them and speak to them about PEN Club. Raise your hand if you can see that. I have a waiting list of people. For those who see my messages, there's a waiting list of people. I have only covered, I think, 7 people in the list. I think there was 13 that I checked last time. So there's 6 more people, maybe even more now that I haven't checked for the last week or so. But there are already people lined up for me to speak about investing in our business and in our company. Okay, I'm going to come back to this point, but work done, automated, delegated, all of this, most of the work I don't even do anymore. It's all delegated and gets done by other team members in the company. Okay, I'm going to go through the list. Robert, do you have any questions?
No, I'm happy. Thank you.
Chetan, any questions?
No, Jack. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dean sir, any questions?
No questions. Thanks, Jack. Thanks.
Geeta, any questions?
I'm fine. Thanks, Jack.
Jennifer, any questions?
Not at the moment, Jack.
Kalpana, any questions?
None for me. Thank you. As always, great session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Martin, any questions?
No, thank you, Jack.
Vicky, any questions?
All good, Jack. Thanks.
Thank you. I know Suraj is working, so
No,
that
I'm
is
all right,
the
Jack. Thank you.
thank you. That is first session